Believe it or not, we are already done with the Div Cups, man. We have a 2-week break now, one more Eval Cup, and then we are already straight into FNCS. So now that the Div Cups are over, I wanted to bring back our weekly series of Fortnite competitive hot takes. Now, hot takes is a weekly series that we do here on the channel where I give you guys a platform to voice your current opinion and thoughts about the current world of Fortnite competitive. If you guys want to be featured in the next episode of hot takes, make sure you guys just follow me on my Twitter, because that is where I ask for your hot takes each and every single week. And as always, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel if you guys are new, as we are so close to 110,000 subscribers. If you guys want to support me even more, especially when buying any of the brand new skins, please use code KDOG in the item shop. We have a lot of different takes to go over, and disclaimer, a lot of them are about the Peterbot versus Pollo off spawn fight, so let's just get straight into it. Kanata isn't a top 3 trio on NA. He got lucky with the first Div Cup because no one good challenged him on height. This is a take that I have been seeing a good amount recently, and for the first part of your sentence here, I think it is almost impossible currently at this point to break into that top 3 trios on NA. I think it is pretty much just undeniably Peterbot, Code and Ritual, Acornagers and Pollo, and Clicks, Yamzo and Higgs. I think even after this grand finals, even if Peter and Pollo end up contesting each other the entire time, I think the only way someone would actually say that a trio is better than them is if they go out there and just absolutely dominate and win grand finals over somebody like Clicks' trio. And I don't want to like fully discredit the first week win for Kanata, Bolton, Rapid, so I'm not going to say they necessarily got lucky, but I think they definitely did have a lot of cards fall in their favor. But we can't act like height was just completely given to them either. All 3 of their 6 game wins came off of the back of being on high ground. I feel like though just this most recent week we saw a lot more teams really challenge them for it. Like Ager's, Acorn and Pollo completely just took it over whenever they wanted to, and Kanata's trio really didn't even try to fight back. We even saw like Booga take height in one game. I think this week just a lot more teams were going for high ground in comparison to what last week was, and I think that was kind of also just because it was the first Div Cup of the season. A lot of the pros were still really trying to learn the set lobby finals meta, and it does kind of concern me a little bit for Kanata, Bolton, Rapid's future on how good of a trio they're actually going to be able to be in a grand finals. I think if they're able to diversify their playstyle to be able to play more of a mid and low ground layer, which I think they are 100% capable of, as they literally have Kanata, who's a super good fighter, Bolts, who was literally just last week being talked about as one of the best players on all of NA, and then Rapid, who at one point in time was known as the best fighting IGL on all of NA. This team in no way, shape or form should just be considered high ground merchants, and they are 100% a trio that should still be very good even if they're not on high ground. They just need to add that element to their game plan still. Savage doesn't get top 10 in grands even if they are uncon. They have had struggles with Surge, and they would take many mid-game fights unless they find a new Surge idea or trade, then they might place top 10. Now, I think if Savage is completely uncontested in a grand finals, I would rather bet on them to place top 10 than to not place top 10. I think as of right now, in the current landscape of how things are going though, if Savage is contested in a grand finals, I do not think that he will be able to qualify for LAN. They have just yet to really show me in any of the Div Cup finals that they have played where they have been contested, that even if they're able to win off spawn, which if we're just being real, has been kind of rare recently, that they do still have other parts in their game plan that is very flawed. Like you were saying in this, a lot of their mid-game problems are still pretty prevalent. They oftentimes do over-aggress for Surge, which in a grand finals, I don't necessarily think they would do. I think they would be forced to more learn how to play a Surge trading meta, but that isn't necessarily things that I've really seen them practice in the 2 Div Cup finals. But once again, like I just said, it's hard to really tell because they have been a trio that has been contested so much. Peterbot's off spawn just isn't good enough, therefore he is going to be conned at LAN, and Clicks will win LAN. So I think there is like 2 separate parts to your hot take here. For the first one though, for Peterbot's off spawn just isn't good enough. I think this can be true to a certain extent. Definitely yesterday in their off spawn, Peter was nowhere close to what Pollo was actually able to do. But if we just look back even just 1 week ago, these trios quite literally went even 3-3 off spawn. In tournaments though, Pollo is currently up on Peter all time 11-5 in off spawns. So I think there definitely is a real argument to be made if you want to say that Peter just can't keep up with Pollo off off spawn at this point. And then for him actually being contested at LAN, this is something that I have been talking about for a while. I think this really is hurting his off spawn rep going forwards, especially for these EU players that are watching him lose off spawn. Like, there is no way somebody like Fortnite, who has ran through multiple super good fighting teams off spawn, is going to be scared of Peter after seeing what is getting done to him by Pollo. And then for the last part about Clix winning LAN, I think it is kind of too early to tell who is actually going to win LAN. There was just so many different factors that come into that, including their drop spots, who they can actually get surge with around them, so many different things. So I don't think I can either agree or disagree with your last take there, but I do pretty much agree with everything else you said. Pollo, if unconned, would win Grands by 200 points. Now, I think this one is a little bit of recency bias. We literally did see Pollo have an arguable top 3 drop spot on the map, completely uncontested last grand finals in Mass Meadows, which is a POI. Speaking of Fordoxy, who quite literally almost won grand finals with that POI, and Pollo, Acorn, and Adris were only able to get 5th place with it. I think it is also just more recency bias because last week, even when we saw Pollo, Acorn, and Adris win off spawn, they really weren't even able to do much with it after that. But this week, it was just a completely different story. When they were able to win off spawn, they looked like far and away the best trio in the entire lobby. They were absolutely dominating on high ground. Nobody could even compete with them up there. I don't think they would necessarily win Grands by 200 points, but I think a lot of people could still very logically pick them to win grand finals if they were uncontested. If LAN is a movement meta, Acorn is the favorite. Now, once again, just going back to, there are still so many different factors in which could actually lead to what could happen at LAN. I think this is a very solid take though. We know that Pollo is literally the reigning defending LAN champion, and then Acorn has already proved time and time again that he can IGL to good LAN performances. So as of right now, I would 100% still put them in that contender tier, but it's just very hard for me to say that anybody is the favorite as of right now. Yamzo is the second best player on the region under Peter. Now, I think if you were saying this after last grand finals, I would be a lot more like willing to listen to this take and maybe almost agree with it too. But if we're just talking about this season specifically, there has been so many other players that I feel like have been outperforming Yamzo even. You can make arguments for players like Pollo, Agers, Bolts even last week. And then if we're just talking about like overall skill, I think I still would take players like Cold over him. And then when I made my top 10 player rankings video, I did have Yamzo as my 4th best player currently in the world. So I would still probably say Yamzo is the 3rd best player on NA. But this season so far, in the only 2 Div Cups, I think a lot of people would agree, hasn't been his best performances. Fordoxy, Pablo, and Chino will win grand finals on EU. This is a take that I have been subscribing more to week after week now, and especially after their most recent performance, literally winning the Div Cup, I am becoming more of a believer in this take. And even now that we have potentially Queasy and Malibuca contesting each other for all of grand finals, I think that probably just wipes both of those guys out of potential winning candidates. So now that mainly just leaves like Fordoxy's trio, Venya's trio, and Vico's trio. And if we're just going drop spot for drop spot, Fordoxy 100% has the best POI out of all 3 of those teams. He's also coming off of a week where he finished with the most elims in the Div Cup as well, so he's shown that he can be fraggy. He has a good POI. I think this take is 100% possible. I'm not going to say they're like a lock to win grand finals, or I'm even like necessarily predicting them to win grands or anything yet, but this is a take that I will buy into. Peterbot's trio is still better than Pollo's trio if they are both unconned with similar loot. Now, I mean, if we're just talking about like skill wise, probably yes. Obviously, this has nothing to do with the off spawns. This is just a hypothetical scenario where say there was like multiple demons domains and they each landed at one of them and they were fully uncontested. I think Peter, Cold, and Ritual, just based off of this entire season in general and not just the recent Div Cup, have shown that they are a better fighting team than Pollo's trio. I don't think they would be as consistent as Pollo's trio, but I probably do have to agree with you in saying that they would still probably be better overall. And if we're even just taking the track history in general, Peter's last 2 grands placements are 2nd and 1st, and Acorn's last 2 grands placements are 1st and 5th. But I think the thing with Acorn, Aders, and Pollo is on a week-to-week basis, they can either look like the best team in the entire world or a trio that will be splitting up. So it really just depends on which version of Aders, Acorn, and Pollo you're going to be getting for the weekend. I feel like Vico's team, they are all very good fighters, no doubt, definitely the best team on the region. but they need to chill with the over aggressive plays if they want to win. Obviously they can make up for games, but they don't need to be in that position to do good. This is one that I kind of half agree with. I think Vicovino and Flixie are definitely the best fighting trio on all of EU. I think unfortunately for them though, it really is just a regional issue. It is probably just a lot more difficult to be able to W key consistently on EU compared to what like a trio like Peterbot, Code, and Ritual can just do on NA. The average caliber of player in those EU stat lobby finals are definitely better than the average caliber in the NA lobbies. So I mean, I definitely do think at times they could chill out with the W keying a little bit, but that is also what makes Vicovino and Flixie so special, is that they really can go toe to toe with any team on the region fighting wise. Peterbot should land Utopia City. Booga's team doesn't have a land spot yet, and if he can get an uncontested Utopia City, he can easily win FNCS. Now, I have seen so many different takes of people saying that Peter should leave the drop spot since he is just getting absolutely owned by Pollo off spawn there. But this is what I like to see here. People actually giving some realistic options on where Peter could actually be going. And I think in the case of Utopia City, it definitely is a potential option, but I think that also does kind of just go against everything that Peterbot has stood for and has been building over the past year and a half at this point. Peter has always been a player that no matter what, he is going to be going to the best drop spots. So if he now takes more of that Vicovino and Flixie route, where he's just going to be going to a mid-tier spot where he thinks gives him the best chance to be able to win grands, then going forwards, this pretty much leaves the best POI on the map up for grabs for any team that wants it if Peter is deciding to stop going the best POIs. I think Utopia City definitely could be a viable option for him. Booga's trio has looked really good out of it so far, but with Queasy deciding to leave a fully uncon Utopia City to go and contest Malibuca, maybe there are some things we don't know about Utopia City that it might not be the best option for Peter. Pollo is not better than Peterbot, and with many of the other off spawn fights, it's just luck based on who wins the 50-50 from the chest. I think as of right now, Pollo has looked like definitely one of, if not the best off spawn fighters in this entire off spawn fight that we have seen throughout this entire season. Peter has definitely been the best player off spawn from his trio, but I don't think you can just say that off spawns is purely just luck based. Definitely whenever they're 50-50ing the chest, you could say maybe some external factors, aka macros maybe, are helping someone be able to beat the other one off spawn. But if you watch this recent one, Pollo was really not 50-50ing any of the chests. He had the exact same strategy every single time. He would land at the top, run down the staircase, and then get the gun that ended up spawning every single game there. Off spawns is a lot more than just luck. It is mainly preparation based, drop based, and there is a little bit of luck that goes into it, but I think it's very unfair to say that it is just fully luck based. Peter will leave Demon's Domain and land on clicks, then Kanata will win grands. Another multi-layered take here for another potential spot that Peter could go to. I think this does align more if we're talking about the track history of Peterbot for landing on clicks compared to landing on somebody like Booga. Most pros would agree that Supernova Academy is the best POI in the entire map. So if Peter wanted to leave Demon's Domain to go and land on Supernova Academy, he could just make the excuse that he feels like Supernova Academy is a better POI and he's not leaving because he's like scared of Pollo or something. And we all know that Peter is also one of the biggest ego players in the game too, so he would technically have a valid excuse for leaving. And then for your part about Kanata winning grands, I think if anything, this would help Acorn to be my far and away favorites for winning, and then probably Kanata second, I guess. But I just really want to see the big three of NA be completely uncontested. To me at least, I feel like I've seen enough of the Peterbot versus Pollo off spawn, and now I just want to see all of these guys be able to play at their best ability. If Pollo wins this FNCS, he will be the top 7 best player of all time. Now this is a bold, spicy take right here. We still see players to this day even trying to debate if Pollo is a top 10 player of all time or not. I personally do think that he is. He's probably like exactly 10th for me right now. I think if Pollo wins this grand finals and is like far and away the best player in this grands, which is something that I don't feel like he has done for any of his wins, then I think he will unanimously be a top 10 player of all time to most people, and then top 7 will probably be debatable as well. Pollo will then be sitting at 5 total FNCS wins if he's able to win this season, so he will have the same amount of wins as Peter, and he will be tied for the second most wins all time. So I think top 10 will be undeniable, and then top 7 will definitely be an argument. Peter and Pollo get placed in the same group and one of them doesn't even qualify for grand finals. If this situation does end up happening, I think one of these teams, and probably as of right now it's looking like Peter, would most likely just go to a different spot on the map, which would probably most likely be Supernova Academy, since I doubt there is a highly unrealistic chance that both Peter, Pollo, and Clix all get into the same group. And then even if they do decide to con each other, I am pretty confident that one of them would be able to win a game off of the back of them winning off spawn, and then after that the other one would get the POI completely uncontested. And I think there is a very real chance that even if Peter and Pollo are in the same group, even if they decide to contest each other, there is a real world where Pollo wins game 1 off spawn and then goes on to win the game, and then Peter gets a completely uncon game 2 and then goes on to win the game. So I think there is a very slim chance that one of these teams doesn't qualify for grands. If Savage gets resistance based uncon, he has land potential, but if they are conned, they don't even have a chance. This also does go back to what I was talking about earlier, and you can call me biased or whatever, but I don't feel like I'm ready to say they don't even have a chance if they are contested. I think it is very difficult and probably even highly unlikely, but I'm just not ready to fully give up on the Mr. Savage Chap and Rezon trio just yet. Acorn is probably the best IGL anyone has ever seen. Now, I think as of right now, that current title 100% still has to go to Queasy. Queasy has placed second place multiple times at a LAN, where Acorn is still yet to really come close to that standard. I think the way that I would be willing to say that Acorn is the best IGL that anyone's ever seen is if he wins this upcoming FNCS, or if he wins the LAN, then he would have some very valid arguments as well. But Queasy is highly regarded as a top 5 player of all time while being an IGL. So even though Acorn has already accomplished a lot, I still think he has more to do until he is able to take that title away from Queasy. Clix won't win grands if he doesn't start getting more elims. Now, back-to-back second places, having the best POI on the map completely uncontested is definitely not something I necessarily expected out of that trio. I think come grand finals time, they will 100% be a lot better of a fragging type of trio than they have shown so far in the 2 div cups of the season, especially if the bird like hand items get removed, and it just goes back to more of like pure skill, since Clix's trio is probably one of the best mid-ground teams in the entire world. I think there maybe is some levels of concern to Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs right now, but I'm definitely not necessarily worried about them. EU grands will be more exciting than NA grands. There are so many more teams that haven't qualified for LAN on EU, and it will be better because teams like Thomas, Vidil, Rezon, Trulex, Pink, Shark, etc., where NA Central only has like 4 teams that haven't qualified LAN, plus the winning teams are so stacked right now. I think this is going to be another grand finals where both EU and NA should be absolute cinema. EU as a region is just so stacked with talent in general that it is always going to be entertaining to watch no matter what. And then on NA is where we have the big name storylines. We are going to get to see if Clix can really finally pull off his first ever grand finals. How will Peterbot and Pollo be looking? Are they going to keep contesting each other, and how that off spawn fight will actually go? Can Kanata continue his streak of qualifying for every single grand finals ever? And are we going to have a LAN without Booga in it? I think both regions have their features that make them so entertaining to watch, and this is going to be 3 straight seasons now where I think grand finals will be so entertaining, especially on NA now, since this is the first time in a long time that I don't think people are going to be predicting Peterbot to win grands. I have a feeling that Queasy is going to dominate the off spawn even in grands. This one is, I feel like, almost impossible to even predict right now. We haven't seen these guys go against each other head to head a single time. I don't even know the last time that Swizzy has even played the game, as he has been in Russia trying to get his visa. Melabuka's trio didn't necessarily look the strongest when they were contested by Vico, Vino, and Flixie last season, and Queasy's trio has already been able to pull off a top 5 while being contested in a grands. So in this very moment, I am leaning a little bit more towards the favor of Queasy's trio, but I just feel like, once again, this is almost impossible to be able to predict. Vanya is currently the best IGL and high ground player in the world with his trio. This is a take that is pretty debatable. I feel like after the performance we even saw out of Acorn though, from being contested by the best team in the entire world, winning 3 out of 6 games, and winning the finals in general, there is not much more check boxes that you can check to being the best IGL in that specific week. Now, for who currently is the best IGL in the world, I think Venya, Acorn, and Queasy are all around that same category of like hard IGLs, so I wouldn't consider players in there like Iamzo or even like Peter necessarily. So I think that on a week-to-week basis, it is kind of fluctuating between who is the best IGL in the world. there's going to be another snake inning before FNCS involving Rise. Now, straight up, I just have to say, probably agree with this one right here. These pros now have 2 off weeks with nothing to do besides talk to the other pros, see how they're feeling in their trio, seeing how confident people are in with their ability to be able to qualify for LAN. And all it takes is one player to decide to switch teams to lead to a whole nother snake inning happening. So I could definitely see this being a possibility. If it is 6-6 in grands, both teams for Peter and Pollo will top 5. Now, as crazy as it sounds, saying that they will both top 5, I don't know if I'm ready to necessarily say that yet. I think one of them can 100% top 5. We literally saw it last week where they ended up going 3-3 off spawn. I'm pretty sure Peter finished in like 7th and then Acorn finished in 10th. It really just does go to show the difference in skill between the top 3 trios in the region and everybody else, that people legitimately think that even if Peter and Pollo both only have 6 games to be able to play, that they will both be able to finish inside of the top 5. In the only game that Peter was able to win off spawn, he literally still finished with over 100 points, finished in 20th place from only 1 endgame. So if we're just multiplying that by 6 and saying that he's going to finish grand finals with around 600-ish points, then he could finish relatively close to that top 5 mark. I think this is a take that is possible, but it's very hard to say whether or not I agree with it or not yet. Pix's team can win Major 3 with an uncontested Utopia City. Now, if you guys aren't caught up to date with everything that's going on, like I said earlier, Queasy has left Utopia City to now contest Malibuca, and Pix was the first person to claim Utopia City now. We have since seen Vadil say he's also going to land at Utopia City now too though. And the thing with Pix, Darm, and Demas is they have been very disappointing this season to say the least, but they have also been very heavily contested this season. This team has now shown in multiple grand finals that they can be a top 5 trio on EU if they have a fully uncontested POI, and this was a team that I wanted to say going into this season was a potential winning team on the region, but if they are contested, I don't even think they are necessarily in contention for being a top 10 trio. If they are uncon though, I think people could 100% get back onto that bandwagon of maybe believing in them to win FNCS, but it has just been a rough season, all things considered, for Pix, Darm, and Demas. Pollo's team is overglazed after 1 great placement despite their horrible form the entire season. Now, for the people that are saying like they're gonna win grand finals while being conned by Peter, I think I would maybe agree a little bit in saying that they're being a little overrated in that sense. But Pollo, Acorn, and Agers have always shown us that they are at the very minimum a top 5 team in a grand finals, and to me they will never go lower than the 3rd best team on NA. When you have a team with Pollo, who is probably the best support player of all time, Agers, who has shown he can be the best player in a grand finals, and Acorn, who is one of the best IGLs of all time, they are always going to get their deserved respect and people will always be high on them, and I think that is 100% valid. Cooper's trio was looking the worst they have looked ever this season, literally dying to zone 1 game. Yeah, I really don't know what was going on with Cooper, Reet, and Curly this week. This was a trio, and this is a trio that was breaking into the top 3 of NA for a lot of people. And then in the last Div Cup of the season, with a completely uncontested POI, with them trading Surge every game, weren't even able to make it inside of the top 10. I want to VOD review a couple of their games and see what was really going on for them and why they ended up struggling so bad. But this is not the Cooper, Reet, and Curly trio that I know, and hopefully this is just a one-off performance and it's not a sign of things to come for them. Other than that though, we got to go over a lot of different fun and spicy takes. As always, let me know which takes you guys agree with and disagree with in the comment section down below. Remember, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we are so close to 110,000 subscribers. If you guys want to support me even more, the best way to do so is by using code KDOG in the Fortnite item shop. YouTube says to enjoy one of these 2 videos up on the screen right now, so go check them out if you guys haven't already. Follow me on my Twitter and my Twitch if you want to keep up to date with everything to do with Fortnite competitive. Thank God for another day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.